My boyfriend, Leo, changed his phone's wallpaper to a photo of him and his assistant. In the picture, the girl smiled sweetly, leaning against his side and flashing a V4 victory sign at the camera. When I confronted him, Leo's reply was calm and composed. It was just a forfeit from a game. What can a wallpaper possibly mean? But a long time passed, and Leo never changed it back. He said, "I'm too lazy to change it. It's just a wallpaper." Later, when Leo saw me being intimate with another man, he confronted me in a rage. I replied nonchalantly, "Oh, I'm just more proactive than you. I just swapped out my boyfriend, that's all." Returning from a business trip, I brought a gift to my boyfriend's office to surprise him. He was in a meeting, and his new assistant blocked me outside the office. She wore a professional suit that didn't quite fit her. Her young, innocent face set in a stern expression. "Mr. Thompson is in a meeting. Please wait in the reception area." Before I could walk away, she dialed the front desk and began to scold them. "Who told you to let just anyone up? Don't you know how important Mr. Thompson's meeting is right now?" The desk phone was on speaker, and the receptionist's reply was clear. "But Miss Anderson is Mr. Thompson's girlfriend. How could we stop her?" The assistant was relentless. "So what if she's his girlfriend? She has no official position in this company. She shouldn't be allowed to come and go as she pleases. Next time, remember to call and report to me first. If you let any more unauthorized people in, you can forget about your jobs next month." Quite the little tyrant. Leo had mentioned this assistant, Chloe, a couple of months ago. She was a distant cousin of a distant relative on his mother's side, an incredibly remote connection, but someone had pulled strings with his mother, and so she was placed in Leo's company. The girl had just graduated and knew nothing about workplace etiquette. Relying on this connection, she carried herself with an air of importance and had already offended many employees. Leo had said he found it both irritating and amusing. Even back in school, he never liked impetuous and clueless young girls, but out of respect for his mother, he had to keep her on for now. He planned to have his secretary find an excuse to let her go after a while. I paused, turning back to look her over. The assistant lifted her chin, her gaze meeting mine with open provocation. Her ambition and desire were completely unconcealed. Truthfully, there were many girls like her around Leo, but I never had to worry. He always handled them himself. It wasn't worth getting worked up over a young girl. I didn't go to the reception area. Instead, I went directly into Leo's private lounge. I was exhausted after being away for over a month, and I fell asleep on the sofa not long after sitting down. When I woke up, Leo was sitting beside me, his head propped on one hand, a slight smile on his lips as he watched me. Seeing I was awake, he reached out and gently stroked my hair. "Still falling asleep everywhere you go, huh, you silly girl." The last two words came out, and both of us froze. I'm not the type to act cute or clingy, and he never used such childish nicknames for me. "What, cheating on me, is, silly girl what you like to call that other girl?" I said it jokingly. Deep down, I didn't believe Leo would ever be unfaithful. We met in high school and started dating in college. It had been over 10 years. My family wasn't as wealthy as Leo's, so I worked exceptionally hard in my studies and career. In high school, I rarely slept before 1 a.m., catching up on sleep between classes just to get into a good university. After starting work, I often worked late, sometimes even falling asleep during our movie dates. Whenever that happened, Leo's heart would ache for me. He would ask me what he was doing wrong to make me feel so insecure. He could provide me with a comfortable life, so why did I push myself so hard? My insecurity never came from Leo. It came from a childhood where my living expenses could be cut off at any moment based on my stepmother's mood. It came from my father calmly telling me to move out after graduation, saying my younger brother was growing up and needed his own space. These experiences made me afraid to rely on anyone financially, but emotionally, I did rely on and trust Leo completely. Leo pulled his hand back and chuckled, feeling a sense of crisis now. "Afraid I'm cheating on you?" He crossed his arms, his expression relaxed and confident. "It's good that you're scared. Maybe now you'll stop putting your work before me." Leo had complained about this more than once since we started dating. He said he always put me first, no matter what. He followed my choice of university to be with me. He even started his business in a city far from his home to be with me. But for me, he always came second to my studies and my career. Even his marriage proposals were met with my delays. After I get confirmed, after I get promoted, it's true that I'm not good at expressing my feelings, even worse at saying sentimental things. But I saw and cherished everything Leo did for me. Now, my job was stable. I had a car and savings. The anxiety in my heart had gradually subsided. That's why I bought a pair of matching rings at a jewelry store during my trip. A proposal doesn't always have to come from the man. I clutched the velvet box containing the rings, my heart pounding as I tried to figure out how to begin. Leo. Just as I was about to speak, his phone buzzed with a WeChat notification. The moment the screen lit up, my heart plummeted. His wallpaper, once a photo of me, was now the picture of him and his assistant. Had Leo really cheated on me? I picked up the phone, unlocked it, and confirmed it was their photo. In the picture, the girl had a sweet, lovely smile, leaning against his side and flashing a V sign for the camera. Aren't you going to explain this? I suppressed the turmoil inside me and pointed at his wallpaper. Leo appeared calm and composed, not a hint of panic. Looks like changing the wallpaper was worth it. It actually made you jealous. Relax. It was just a forfeit from a game. Leo explained that 2 days ago was Chloe's birthday. His mother had specifically called to remind him, saying the girl was all alone in a new city and he should take her out for a celebratory dinner. A few of Chloe's friends were there too. They insisted on playing Truth or Dare. Leo lost and chose a dare, which was to change his wallpaper for a week. At this point, Leo shook his head with a helpless smile. Kids these days, so energetic and stubborn. Changing it wasn't enough. Now she insists on checking it every day. She says she's afraid I'll cheat and change it back before the week is up. Leo didn't seem to notice the curve of his lips or the doting tone in his voice when he spoke about Chloe, but he did notice the change in my mood. If it bothers you, I'll change it back right now. I subconsciously shook my head. Leo sighed in relief. Good. I'm glad you understand. What can a wallpaper possibly mean? I forced a stiff smile and put the ring box back into my bag. I suppose he had forgotten. In our 3rd year of college, a very pretty girl pursued him relentlessly. Even after he made it clear he had a girlfriend, she didn't give up. She followed him to his elective classes, joined the same school clubs. She even made a point of sitting near him in the cafeteria. In the end, Leo reported her to campus security. The girl was so humiliated that she took a semester off. Even I thought he had been too harsh, but he had looked at me with such tender, devoted eyes. Of course, I could have just turned a blind eye, he said. I could have enjoyed the validation she gave me, the boost to my male ego, but I know you're insecure. Letting her hang around would only make you anxious and miserable. I can't worry about others. My only concern is you. And I wanted to find the quickest way to put your mind at ease. So, he had always known how to maintain boundaries with other women. Only this time, he had allowed this young girl to cross them. Leo must have sensed the strange atmosphere. He put his phone away and asked with a smile, "You said on the phone last night you had a surprise for me. What is it? Can you reveal it now?" Looking at his familiar smile, his familiar face, I even started to tell myself I was overreacting. Maybe he just saw her as a little sister. Maybe I was just being too sensitive. I knew if I proposed right now, Leo would immediately say yes. He had been looking forward to our wedding for a long time. The marital home was bought, and the deed was in my safekeeping. The wedding destination was chosen. Even the brand for the wedding dress had been decided. All he needed was my yes. But as the words reached my lips, I changed them. I got a promotion and a raise. Leo let out a snort, a little exasperated. Well, that is a surprise. Come on, let's go get lunch. We'll celebrate. That meal was tasteless. Thinking back, I can't even remember what we ate. I only remember Leo's phone buzzing incessantly. He frowned, looking annoyed, but he replied to every single message. I asked him, "Who's that? So important?" Leo looked up at me, hesitating for a moment. "Work messages." He then looked back down and continued typing. I glanced at the reflection in the window behind him. I couldn't make out the conversation, but I could faintly see that the other person's profile picture was a cute cartoon character, Minnie Mouse with a bow. Checking his phone wasn't my style, but a dense, sour feeling coiled in my chest. I could feel the trust between us starting to crumble. Later, I took a work call and left early. Leo looked upset. Before I left, he told me with a bitter smile, "It feels like you don't really need me." I think, at that moment, he might have realized it too. His life didn't have to revolve around me, either. After my promotion, my work became even busier. Leo would sometimes video call me. Sometimes he'd bring me love bento meals, but without fail, he would be interrupted by a phone call. He would nervously explain it was a work call. His company did have a major project going on. We saw each other less and less, even though we lived in the same city. The next time we met was on Leo's birthday. I had booked a restaurant and bought him a gift in advance. I waited for over half an hour before Leo finally rushed in. He took off his suit jacket, revealing a pair of silver Mickey Mouse cufflinks on his shirt sleeves that were particularly conspicuous. Noticing my gaze, Leo sighed with a frown. The kid insisted I wear them. She throws a tantrum if I don't. He sat down, casually placing his phone face down on the table. I didn't respond to his comment. I just asked, "Did you change the wallpaper?" Leo froze, his eyes darting away for a second. He glanced down at his phone, his brow furrowed. He slammed the phone back on the table, annoyed. "I can't be bothered to change it back and forth. It's just a phone wallpaper. Clara, you don't care about me or anything I do for you, but you're obsessed with my wallpaper. Is that really what matters?" Looking at the enraged Leo, I finally stopped trying to deceive myself. A few days ago, when I received a provocative message from Chloe, I had just laughed it off. She said she felt sorry for me, my pitiful background, my pitiful situation, clinging to a love that had already soured. That was the most pitiful thing of all. Thinking about it now, it was indeed pitiful and ridiculous. A 13-year relationship, destroyed by a girl who had appeared less than 3 months ago. I clenched my trembling hands under the table, trying to keep my voice steady. "Leo, let's just have a nice dinner. I ordered a lot of your favorite dishes." Leo's expression softened, and a hint of guilt appeared. "I'm sorry, I lost my composure. Work has been so crazy lately. I just forgot to change it. I'll change it as soon as I get back." I didn't say anything, just smiled at him. I placed some of his favorite foods onto his plate. The day we officially became a couple, I told Leo that I didn't believe in love. It was because I believed in him that I was willing to try opening my heart. But if the day ever came when he no longer loved me, I wouldn't become like my parents, trapped by emotions and dragging each other down until we were both destroyed. I would have one last peaceful meal with him, and then quietly exit his world. I guess Leo had forgotten that. That's why when I refused to go back to his place, refused to let him drive me home, he became angry and frustrated, throwing the gift I gave him onto the ground. He said, "It feels like our entire relationship, our connection, has always just been me forcing it, but I get tired, too. I want to leave, too." Watching his resolute back, I fought back the tears that threatened to spill over. I knew he wasn't tired, he just didn't love me anymore. Leo didn't contact me after that night, and I, taking the hint, never bothered him again. We both understood that for adults, a breakup doesn't need a formal goodbye. Our paths crossed again 3 months later. He came to my door to retrieve something, the keys and the deed to his riverside penthouse. Leo had intended it to be our marital home, which was why he had left them with me. It was my oversight. I had forgotten to return something so valuable. "Sorry, these past few months have been hectic. I forgot to give these back. You could have just called. I would have mailed them to you." I apologized as I handed him the document folder containing the deed and keys. Leo stared at me, his jaw tight, saying nothing. I shifted in my seat, still feeling incredibly uncomfortable. "Would you like some water?" I asked. My polite, distant tone must have sounded like a dismissal to him. It's true what they say, exes really can't be friends. The sofa he was sitting on was one we had picked out together. We had snuggled on this sofa watching movies. We had held each other on it, whispering sweet nothings. The most intimate moments had happened right on this sofa. And now, we sat at opposite ends, as stiff and restrained as two strangers. This strange, awkward atmosphere was uncomfortable for both of us. "No, thanks, I have to go." He stood up to leave but paused after a moment. "Since this place will be empty for a while, I'm planning to rent it out too." Leo hesitated, then continued, "The area Chloe's renting in isn't very safe. There was a break in last night. The poor girl was terrified. She's still." I cut him off, nodding. "Of course, you should. It was his property. After all, even if we were still together, the decision was his to make. Besides, I wasn't his girlfriend anymore. I had no say in who he rented his apartment to." My cold attitude seemed to annoy Leo. He frowned, his gaze darkening as he looked at me. He said, "It's this indifferent attitude of yours. It's what keeps pushing me toward other people. You need to understand, Clara, love isn't infinite. It can be used up." I suddenly found it hilarious. 12 years ago, in this very same position, Leo had told me with sincere eyes that his love was additive. It would only grow with time and never be depleted. I thought to myself, if I still loved him, how much would those words hurt right now? The electronic beep of a lock disengaging pulled me from my thoughts. What bad luck. My water's out again today. Ethan's voice arrived before he did. Leo and I turned simultaneously to see Ethan, shirtless, with a towel wrapped low around his waist, perfectly showcasing a set of 8-pack abs. His wet hair hung low, partially obscuring his charming, almond-shaped eyes. A drop of water traced its way from his hair, down his sharp jawline, and onto his chest. If Leo hadn't been here, this would have been a perfect, seductive entrance. Who is he? They both spoke at the same time, one filled with jealousy, the other with barely contained fury. Leo glared at me, his tone demanding, "It doesn't matter who he is, Clara. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Why is a half-naked man in your apartment? And why does he have the code to your door?" Leo's attitude confused me. When he knocked on my door, when he asked for the deed with such detached coolness, he gave me the impression that he had long accepted our breakup. But now, he was acting as if he'd caught me cheating red-handed. I let out a cold laugh and replied nonchalantly, "Oh, I'm just more proactive than you. I just swapped out my boyfriend, that's all." Leo's face went pale, his chest heaving. I recognized it as the prelude to an explosion. I glanced at Ethan, and with just a look, he understood. He walked over to my side, his well-defined hand slid naturally and skillfully around my waist, pulling me into his embrace. "Honey, he's so aggressive. And his physique is just average. You were eating so poorly before." Ethan shot a glance at Leo, playfully twirling a strand of my hair around his finger. Men certainly know how to get under other men's skin. Even the usually composed Leo was visibly provoked. He strode forward, raising his fist, only to pause mid-air. He looked Ethan up and down, then lowered his fist, letting out a dismissive snort as he looked at me. "Is this really necessary, Clara? If you're unhappy with me, you can just say so. Or if Chloe's existence bothers you, we can sit down and talk about it. But hiring some guy to put on a show is just pathetic." Leo looked at me with an expression full of disappointment, even a hint of contempt. I could understand his thinking. After all, Ethan's personality and looks were everything I used to avoid. Ever since I was a student, I'd been wary of handsome, stylishly dressed guys. But who doesn't like a handsome man? It was my unique upbringing that made me prefer people and things that felt stable and secure. After breaking up with Leo, I suddenly understood. In this world, nothing is permanent, not people, and certainly not feelings. Life is a fleeting few decades. Living freely, making yourself happy, that should be the only constant. Meeting Ethan was quite dramatic. He had just moved in, and we'd crossed paths in the elevator a few times. He had striking features, handsome and refined, so handsome that even I, who had been emotionally stoic for years, thought to myself, if I were a rich woman one day, I'd probably want to keep him. That very evening, as I was coming home late from work, I saw a graceful, elegantly dressed woman leaving his apartment. She threw a bank card at him. "Don't ever contact me again. This is the last time." After the woman left, I couldn't help but steal a few glances at Ethan. He bent down to pick up the card. His expression was so composed, not a trace of embarrassment. Our eyes met, and he smiled at me, his beautiful, almond-shaped eyes tilted up slightly, and an unexpected ripple went through my heart. He was truly a masterpiece, with a gift for charming people, but it seemed this sugar mama had grown tired of him. A pity I wasn't rich enough to be reckless. Otherwise, I might not have been able to maintain my principles. That night, Ethan actually knocked on my door. He pointed towards my kitchen. "I smelled something delicious. Mind if I join you for dinner?" For some inexplicable reason, I nodded. Later, I wondered if it was because I was in a post-breakup, self-destructive phase, or if my suppressed true nature was finally breaking free. After Ethan praised my cooking several times, I blurted out without thinking, 3 meals a day, can I keep you?" The words had barely left my lips before I wanted to bite my tongue and die on the spot. But Ethan didn't seem offended at all. "Keep me for what? PG, rated or R, rated?" I was completely lost, staring at him in confusion, until Ethan leaned in, tilted my chin up, and kissed me. He showed me, with his actions, exactly what R, rated, meant. After that night, whenever Ethan stayed over, my legs would be weak when I got out of bed. What was supposed to be a fun arrangement was gradually starting to scare me. Sore legs and back were one thing, but I had no energy for work, yawning through meetings. 2 months later, I couldn't take it anymore. I proposed we terminate our arrangement. Ethan was great, but my job and money were better. I had no plans to get married or start another relationship. I just wanted to save enough for retirement before I turned 40 and settle down in a quiet little town. Ethan's appearance had clearly disrupted my plans. He was a distraction at work, but that was the least of it. Sometimes, after we were intimate for a while, I'd start to have illusions that we were actually dating. Our physical chemistry was incredible, and our lives began to sync up. After work, Ethan would have already bought groceries, waiting for me. always exactly what I was craving. When I cooked, he would wash vegetables and clean the countertops beside me. After dinner, curled up on the sofa to watch a movie, he always managed to pick the exact one I wanted to see. Sometimes, we'd even share the same song with each other at the same time. These little things made me start to long for a married life. I even started thinking that we could have a child, and Ethan and I would love them dearly. The moment that thought popped into my head, it sent a cold shiver down my spine. Marrying and having a child with a male escort. Even I thought I was going insane. The day I brought up ending things, Ethan remained calm and understanding. We have been at it quite frequently. It's normal for you to get tired of it. Let's take a few days apart to cool off. Ethan kept his promise and disappeared for a week. When he returned, he started using all sorts of clumsy excuses to get into my apartment. He left his underwear here. His apartment had no water or electricity. Things like that, combined with his almost demonic good looks. It was hard to say no. Fortunately, my self-control was decent, and I didn't let him succeed, until today, when he even resorted to the wet towel seduction. If Leo hadn't shown up, I'm not sure I could have resisted an act. Ethan scoffed. His eyes flickered between himself and Leo. You find it so unbelievable that Clara could fall for me. Leo forcefully pulled Ethan's hand from my waist. He ignored Ethan, looking at me coldly. Clara, I know you're jealous of Chloe, but there's a limit to jealousy. Stop this nonsense. I don't have the energy to deal with it. Before Leo could finish, his phone rang. The wallpaper was still the photo of him and Chloe. Suddenly, a wave of nausea churned in my stomach. A sour taste rose in my throat, and I rushed to the bathroom, vomiting into the sink. Ethan followed immediately, his large hand rubbing my back soothingly as he handed me tissues and a glass of water. Leo, after telling Chloe on the phone to wait a little longer, came over as well. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Ethan thought for a moment. Then his face lit up with joy. Could you be pregnant? If we count the days, it must have been that last time. I shook my head, denying it. Impossible. We used protection that night. Ethan's eyes crinkled with a smile, his voice filled with suppressed excitement. The very last time that night, it was after midnight, which was your safe period, so we didn't use anything. As Ethan and I discussed dates without a care in the world, no one noticed Leo's face growing paler and paler. His lips moved, opening and closing, but no sound came out. At the hospital, getting registered, drawing blood, getting tests, I was in a daze the entire time. It wasn't until the doctor looked at my lab results and told me I was 4 weeks pregnant that I finally snapped back to reality. This unplanned child had thrown my life into chaos. Do you want to keep the baby? Before I could answer, Ethan was nodding like a bobblehead. Yes. The doctor gave Ethan a sideways glance. Wow, the dad's quite handsome, she muttered under her breath, but men don't have reproductive rights. Whether to keep it or not is up to your girlfriend. My lips felt heavy as lead. I looked at Ethan's hopeful eyes. After a long moment of hesitation, I replied, I need to think about it. Leaving the hospital, we didn't get a chance to talk before we ran into Leo. I hadn't even realized he had followed us. Chloe was sitting in his passenger seat. He stood in the hospital parking lot, his face a mask of cold fury. When he saw the pregnancy report in my hand, his complexion shifted between pale and ashen. He finally believed that Ethan and I weren't putting on an act. Leo blocked the front of my car, his voice tight with restrained anger. Clara, I don't understand. What did I do to you in these 10 years? Even if we broke up, you could have had some dignity. Cheating on me like this. Are you any different from your promiscuous mother? I froze, looking at Leo in disbelief. The scarred, overwhelmed deep in my heart was ripped open by the man I had loved for a decade, bleeding profusely. The pain was so intense my breathing slowed. Seeing my reaction, Ethan didn't hesitate. He swung his fist and punched Leo hard. Shut your damn mouth. Leo staggered back, stumbling a few steps before regaining his balance. The two men started fighting, and Leo was quickly overpowered. An office worker like him was no match for Ethan, who worked out regularly. Chloe cried out, jumping out of the car. She wanted to intervene but didn't know how, so she just yelled at me, "Can't you stop them? Leo was someone you loved, for God's sake." I watched coldly until Ethan had beaten Leo to the point where he couldn't get up, blood trickling from his nose and mouth. Only then did I make a token effort to step in. I looked down at his bruised face, my eyes devoid of any emotion. Leo, it's fine if you don't admit you were the one who had an emotional affair first. It doesn't matter if you insist I cheated on you, but from this day forward, we have nothing to do with each other. You're just an irrelevant person to me now. So, please, don't show up in my life again, and don't try to make your presence known. It's truly disgusting. I whispered the last word, and Leo's face went slack. He struggled to push himself up, desperate to explain. Clara, we were together for 10 years. You know I've always loved you. I was wrong. I had a moment of weakness. I thought. Leo's voice trailed off, his eyes downcast, too ashamed to say the words. I thought you were all alone. I thought you loved me so much, that after my brief straying, you would still be waiting for me. Forgive me, Chloe. Standing on the side, her face changed. She mumbled, brief straying. Leo, what do you take me for? Leo glanced at her, his expression full of disdain. What do you think I take you for? I treated you exactly as what you wanted to be. Chloe felt insulted, her voice rising to a shriek. What I wanted? What do you think I wanted? Was I after your age? Or your poor performance in bed? I had no interest in watching their dog eat. Dog drama. I grabbed Ethan and got in the car. As the car pulled away, Leo stumbled to his feet to chase after us but was held back by a frantic Chloe. In the rearview mirror, Leo's figure grew smaller and smaller, until he disappeared completely. Back home, Ethan dropped his playful facade. He asked me seriously what my reservations were about having the child. I didn't know how to answer him. I had too many concerns. I hadn't even saved enough for my own retirement. Where would I get the money to raise a child? And Ethan, perhaps he was just tired of the fast life and had chosen me for a brief respite. Leo and I had gone from a campus romance to this, and even he got bored. I didn't want Ethan and me to be forced together because of a child, even if there was a 1 in a million chance he would love me forever. But if we did get married, what could he do to support a family? Go back to his old profession? After a long time, I finally said softly, let's not. You don't even have a proper job. Raising a child would be too much for you. I paused, unable to bring myself to say the rest. Ethan looked baffled. No job doesn't mean no money. Why can't I raise a child? I couldn't help but ask. The money from that sugar mama. Is that enough for you? Is it enough for a child? Ethan looked blank for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, the money from my sugar mama. Not only can she support me, she can support the child too. My worldview was starting to crumble. I gritted my teeth. My child does not need your client to support them. Client. Ethan repeated the word, his expression a mix of emotions. When it finally clicked, he shot up from his seat. What client? That was my mother. Ethan frantically explained. Because he refused to get married and rejected the arranged marriage his family had set up. He had been cut off and his cards were frozen. He had been secretly getting money from his mom, but he still wouldn't do as he was told. So, his mother, in a fit of anger, had thrown the bank card at him and given him a piece of her mind. Clara, what have you been thinking I am all these months? Ethan frowned, deep in thought. Then it dawned on him. No wonder you offered to keep me that day. Wait, keep me for 3 meals a day. Clara, you're so cheap. Ethan couldn't accept that I had mistaken him for a gigolo. He found it even harder to accept that I had been with him while thinking he was a gigolo. After a fierce internal battle, he decided to forgive me. He was very good at comforting himself. He reasoned that if I was willing to be with him even when I thought he was a gigolo, it must prove how much I truly loved him. In the end, he convinced me. And I mean convinced, not just in bed. I agreed to keep the baby. I went with Ethan to meet his parents. I had expected it to be difficult to marry into a wealthy family, a trial by fire. But when Ethan's parents learned I was pregnant, one went to burn incense and pray, while the other made the sign of the cross, mumbling, Jesus be praised. It was an eye-opener for me, seeing how people with different faiths could live so harmoniously. Ethan's mother immediately took my hand, thanking me profusely. My dear, from now on, you're my own daughter. Ethan muttered, wouldn't that make things complicated? He earned a glare from his mother and fell silent. She continued, holding my hand earnestly. We were starting to think the family line would end with him, his father, and I thought he didn't like women. At this, she suddenly became suspicious. You're not someone he hired to act, are you? Ethan sighed, rubbing his forehead, and made a move to stand up. Fine, we'll come back in 10 months. Then, his mother quickly appeased him. I believe you, but still, Ms. Anderson, you look a little familiar. Speaking of familiar, I did feel that Ethan's parents looked familiar. Even Ethan himself, smiling at me now, seemed like someone I had seen before. It wasn't until I saw a treasured photograph in Ethan's room that a distant memory was awakened. In my freshman year of college, I had a part-time job at the university swimming pool. Normally, I just had to clean up during opening hours. But then came this VIP student. Whenever he decided to swim, the pool would open just for him, and I would be forced to work overtime. So, I never gave him a pleasant look, barely even glanced at him, even though he was quite polite, always bringing me milk tea or small cakes and fruit when he came late. But as an overworked student, I needed sleep, not his treats, so I never accepted them and continued to give him the cold shoulder. He had a mild temper, though, and would just smile without getting angry. Our relationship improved after one time he came very late. After the lifeguard had already left, he suddenly got a cramp and started drowning. I jumped in, dragged him out, and gave him CPR. After he came to, the tips of his ears were bright red, and he said he wanted to repay me. I hinted that I wasn't interested in fame, but I emphasized the word gain heavily. I thought he'd get the hint. Instead, the next day he showed up at the pool with his parents and a commemorative banner to thank me. After that, he came even more frequently, and I had to work more and more overtime. Leo wasn't happy about it and made me switch jobs. Later, I never saw him on campus again. I heard he had gone to study abroad. After all these years, I had long forgotten what the VIP student looked like. I only remembered his blushing face and him shyly telling me I had taken his first kiss. As if it wasn't my first kiss too. The blurry face from my memory slowly merged with the smiling one before me. I tapped Ethan lightly with the photo. And you call me cheap? You repaid me for saving your life with a banner. Ethan, you're the cheap one. Ethan took my hand, his thumb stroking my palm, and intertwined our fingers. He looked at me with a smile, his eyes sparkling like stars. I repaid a life, saving grace with my body. Isn't that enough? I shrugged, goosebumps breaking out on my skin. Who is this historical drama hero? Someone drag him away. So cheesy. Ethan pulled me into his arms, resting his chin on my shoulder. You don't like cheesy sweet talk. I'll just have to keep saying it until you're desensitized. Clara, I like you. It was love at first sight. You think anyone actually enjoys swimming late at night? I just wanted to spend more time with you. I've been swimming since I was a kid. How could I possibly drown? It was just a little trick to seduce you. Who knew you already had a boyfriend? If my morals had been a little lower back then, do you think I would have had a chance if I tried to steal you away? You think it was fate that I moved in next door? I paid a premium for that apartment, as Ethan wished. I eventually became desensitized to his sweet talk. A year later, I could listen to his cheesy declarations of love without flinching. I no longer felt awkward or got goosebumps. I could smoothly kiss him as a reward. That was a good one today. Here's a kiss. After our daughter was born, we were still as loving as ever. We survived the 7-year itch and many 3-year hurdles after that. Occasionally, I'd hear news about Leo from old classmates. I heard he ended up marrying Chloe, and just as he'd said, the girl was very dramatic. She meddled in his work and made a mess of his personal life. She pushed the once mild-tempered Leo to the point of violence. I heard Chloe was even pregnant at the time. The beating sent her to the hospital. Though the family connection was distant, it was still there. The whole affair became a huge, ugly mess. The divorce dragged on for years, leaving them both emotionally exhausted. A classmate told me that whenever Leo drank with old friends, he would get drunk and cry about his regrets. He would list all the ways I was better behaved and more sensible than Chloe, even saying I was far more beautiful. He couldn't understand what had possessed him back then. At his saddest moments, he would beat his chest and stamp his feet in a pathetic display. My classmate asked me if I had any regrets. I glanced at the handsome, lean, muscled husband beside me. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I typed back 2 words. As if